5 food trends for 2021 that I support. That's what we're talking about today, so grab a mug of your favorite beverage and join me for today's Nutrition Coffee Chat. Ooh, and while you're at it, click the subscription button and the notification bell below so that you get everything you need to create healthy eating habits that stick. Yes, and if you've been following me for a little while, you'll notice, ooh, new mug I got for Christmas. Thank you so much, Estella, for the beautiful gift. Okay, so I've been doing nutrition for 25 years, and in that time I've seen a lot of food trends, food and nutrition trends, many of which are not good. I do not support, in my opinion. However, what I do every year is to share food trends that I do support, some good news, some silver lining amongst all of this awfulness around food that is out there on social media. You know, there is enough like fear mongering and food bashing out there. That is not what we're here to do. What I like to do is be a ray of light, a ray of positivity, sharing with you things that I do want you to do, trends that I do want you to embrace and hop on board of. And so that's what we're sharing today, 5 food trends of 2021 that I do support. Of course, what is the most influential thing that's happened in the entire world has been the pandemic, and no difference with our food trends. It has had a huge impact on our food and our nutrition. Now, before I get into the impact on the food trends or to the positive spin on things, I want to be really clear. I am not making light of the global pandemic. I want to acknowledge the huge negative impact that it's had on people's lives. We've had countless deaths, countless people grieving the loss of loved ones, people who have lost their jobs, people who are undergoing the stress of figuring out how to, school their children or deal with working from home while daycares are closed. There's the stress of needing to not be able to work from home, but having to go into work in, frontline type of work. There's the increase of the mental health problems from the pandemic, the increase in addictions, the increase in violence. And so I do honestly recognize the worldwide negative impacts of that. However, I'm going to stay in my lane. You join me here for how to create healthy eating habits that stick. So I'm going to stay in the lane and I'm going to talk about 5 food trends that I do support. And of course, they do come from influence of that pandemic. So number one, not only the first that I'm going to mention, but also the biggest one that I support, and that's that people are cooking more at home. You're cooking more at home, and I am cheering that. I always say if there is one single thing that you are going to do to create healthier eating habits, to improve your nutrition, that is to cook for yourself. Because you can control what's in there, right? You can control how much hidden salt is in there, how much sugar might be hiding in things. You can choose whole grains. You can increase the amount of vegetables that you're having. You can make all of the choices, and that is the power and the benefit of being able to cook from home more. And so I absolutely support that. That is number one most significant food trend of 2021 that I love, and I really hope that it continues into this new year. Number 2 is really people who are kind of taking it to that next level, what they're doing at home. So people who are growing their own food now. I really support that, whether you have, a yard and you've grown more food by, turning over perhaps some of the flower beds or some of the grass and turning it into a food producing area for yourself. I have seen people, whether you have a patio, a balcony and patio, I said together, a patio like myself. I, got some greens. I grew leafy greens. I grew lettuce, radishes, other veggies. You can pack a lot into a small little patio place. Maybe you don't have either and you're using a windowsill to grow some herbs or regrowing lettuce or green onions and things like that from scraps, all of which are fantastic. The more you grow vegetables, the more you're going to be excited about eating them. And then there's nothing like the flavor and likely the nutritional value of picking something and eating it right away. Other things that people are doing, their own people have, of course, been baking themselves. And I love that. Baking your own bread, for example. You can be experimenting with different whole grains, learning how to ferment, you can that way limit the number of additives that are in there. A lot of the grocery store bakery breads have a lot of additives in there that not the greatest. So you can be omitting those when you're baking yourself. Perhaps you're creating your own sourdough and creating breads that way, which is fantastic. Which kind of leads into the next thing that people are doing on their own, which is many people are starting to do fermented foods on their own. And I love the incorporation of fermented foods in our diets. There's a lot we still don't know, but so much more, such a fascinating area of research into the gut microbiome. And so, including fermented foods is likely supportive of that. Is the evidence there to completely say exactly what's going on in the benefit? No. But I think in the next 10 years or so, we're going to see a lot more around that and have a lot of solid answers. And so I'm loving that people are using this time and creating, or should I say, perhaps returning to the ways that we as human beings through all of our different cultures have created fermented foods. So that is trend number 2 that I am supportive of. Food trend number 3, of which I'm supportive, is all the increased ways that we have made cooking at home more convenient for us. The embracing of things like curbside pickup or grocery delivery. Love that. I can't tell you how many busy clients I see who end up turning to, fast food or not the healthiest takeout because they don't have any groceries at home. They don't have the time to go to the grocery store, get things, bring it home, and then make dinner tonight. And so you end up, going through the fast food drive-through. And so I love that it's made it more convenient than ever to get groceries. Whether it's delivered to your home, whether it's curbside pickup, I have fully embraced the curbside pickup, love it. The other way that is happening is that people are selling out of CSAs, the community supported agriculture. Basically, you buy like a subscription box to a farmer, and whatever is coming up from their fields in season, they fill your box and you get it, which is a great win-win situation because the farmer now has guaranteed buyers for their produce, which is more security for their business. And for yourself, it's exciting because you've got these new veggies coming and then things you may have never tried. And it can mean that when you step back and look at the variety of vegetables and fruit that you're having throughout the year, you've expanded it exponentially. And, as much as I'm a huge proponent of eating a lot of vegetables, I'm also a huge proponent of eating a wide variety of foods. Again, in my 25 years of doing nutrition, I have seen the discovery of new things in vegetables and fruit that are good for us that, quite frankly, in the 90s we didn't know about. And so what I take from that is we probably only know the tip of the iceberg for what's in vegetables and fruit that are good for us. And so the wider the variety you're having, the wider variety of beneficial nutrients that you are getting for your body. So I love how CSAs are benefiting the farmers locally, but also increasing our nutritional health. I'm also a fan of the meal delivery kits. Those have been exploding and people have been asking me a lot about them, how I feel about them. I think they're great. They're a super handy tool, particularly for 2 groups of people whom I am seeing. One are people who are novice cooks. To go from kind of eating out all the time to cooking everything yourself at home is a huge leap. And so I love the kind of prepared meal kits where everything's kind of chosen and maybe started to be prepared for you and you just have to finish up the preparation. I love that because it kind of gives you kind of that in between, how to bridge that gap so that you are doing more cooking from home and you're learning that skills and you're gaining confidence. And so I love it for those folks. Also, it can be really handy if you feel like you're just stuck in a rut and you're needing some new inspiration. do a subscription to a meal kit for a short period of time, and try new things and make new things. And for those recipe cards that you love that were big hits, keep those so that you can keep using those in your repertoire, when you're buying stuff from the grocery store directly. So yeah, meal kits, community CSAs, curbside pickup, delivery. I am loving all of these new ways of supporting people to be cooking more from home. So that's the third trend that I love. The fourth trend that I love, already highlighted it a tiny little bit in one way, but that is the supporting local. It's the increased awareness of our food supply, where our food comes from, and all of the steps it takes in order to get it on the grocery store shelves and bring it home. For many of us, privileged folks who have lived in big cities and who live in areas with decent affluence, this may have been the first time that we've walked into a grocery store and seen empty shelves. And I think it's had a huge impact on many of us. It's made us realize, oh, how do groceries arrive in the store so that I can get whatever I want that I'm in the mood for? And, that had a huge impact. And so it's had a lot of support for local farmers, I see lineups now at the local butcher, lineups at the local fish store. As I mentioned, CSAs already, they were selling out. I also saw a lot of the local farmers here who, could have been in a real bind because their major purchasers of their produce were restaurants, particularly being in a tourist area myself here in Victoria, British Columbia. A lot of those restaurants would have been targeting tourists who there were no tourists. And so therefore the farmers suddenly had no buyers for their produce that they had already planted. Well, you know what? The public stepped up, and I saw farmers selling out of their produce every day, every week, from people buying it for their own homes. And so really, they didn't end up being in trouble. They actually had this huge boom of local people directly buying their vegetables. And I've seen lineups at the farm gate sales, lineup at the farmers market, people really supporting their local farmers, as I mentioned, butchers, fish stores, etc. I also have seen support for our local coffee shops and our local restaurants, small independent restaurants. I've seen great support for them for takeout, for delivery. Especially there in the early spring, there when our downtown core was just vacant. There were really nobody around except the delivery drivers. Oh, the downtown was full of delivery drivers bringing food to people. And so really seeing that support for everybody, our local businesses, our local food producers, really great fourth food trend of 2021 that I think will be continuing. And then the fifth one, again, already hinted at it, but the fifth food trend that I have seen that I really support is the continued embracing of vegetables and fruit. That's been a trend for the last few years, whether it's a part of moving to become more plant-based, or whether you're going to continue being omnivorous but are eating more vegetables. This has been a trend that has been growing over the last number of years, and I really see that in this past year, it's just had an increase, a huge boost, both because of the local support for local farmers, also the fact that we're now, recognizing the importance of our immune system and how important eating a wide variety of vegetables and fruit is for supporting the strength of our immune system. That has been huge. And a way that I've seen that, people, the celebration of those vegetables and fruit have been the grazing boards, the trend of grazing boards. Well, what makes a grazing board beautiful? It's the vegetables and fruit, the colors, the variety that you're sharing of the vegetables and fruit. That's what is highlighted in a grazing board. And so I love that trend really is because of the increased support for vegetables and fruit that we're all having. What of those 5 trends have you been adopting this past year, and do you plan to continue adopting in 2021? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment in the comment section below. Well, those are the 5 trends for 2021 that I am supporting. It's been great to connect with you here. I've got some more videos related to cravings, my 2020 cravings series that you may appreciate. I've got links here. Have a great couple of weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, enjoy healthy eating.